So I'll be going to San Antonio on Friday for the summit. Yeah.
All right, really? Well, I'm not going to go with you.
Yeah.
But I'll be with you. My spirit will be with you, definitely.
Perfect. Yeah. Should be fun, though. I think there's 12 of us going. We're like a premier sponsor this year. So, yeah, it'll be a good time. These events are always nice.
I'm jealous about that.
Yeah. But long flight for sure. So, anyways, I think we're live, and I want to welcome everybody here for the webinar today. I'll actually do a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. One thing I always like to ask is for people to put in the comments where you're from. We talk to people from all over the world all the time, and it's always interesting just to see where people are from. So drop that in the comments and see if we find a new country that we're talking to. As I mentioned, some housekeeping. This will be recorded, and the recording is going to be sent out along with the presentation to everybody. It'll go to the email that you registered with. So if you registered with like a Gmail account or something like that, make sure to check that to get this information. So I think that's about all in the way of housekeeping here. So again, I'd like to welcome everybody to the webinar, Maximizing Testing Efficiency and Quality for Dynamics 365 OneVersion. This is a topic that's really dear to our hearts. Marek and I, we work with this every single day at Executive Automats. I'm Jacob Davis, Customer Success Manager at Executive Automats. I work with customers, getting them up and running with their testing projects, testing plans, really going through it with people on a day-to-day basis. Sitting next to me here is Marek Domagała.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
I'm Marek. I'll be talking about some things today with Jacob.
Yeah, some things that we've seen, experience we've gathered over the last several years doing testing with customers. So he's one of our senior test consultants as well. So he'll be showing a couple of things as we go through. It won't just be presentation the whole time. All right, so I'll move over to the agenda, and we'll talk about that. Building a robust testing framework. Our idea today, that Marek, is actually to go through kind of the test journey that customers go through. Obviously, starting at the beginning, building your foundations, moving on to where you have your foundations, and now you're scaling your test coverage, expanding to different test cases, addressing bottlenecks, things along those lines. And then moving on to where you have a stable test platform, testing plan in place, want to optimize your testing operations. So looking at integrations, performance testing, documentation for best practices, things along those lines. And we'll finish up with a Q&A session. So we'll try to save some time at the end for that to answer any questions that you might have. And of course, we like to talk to people about this all the time. We provide test services, so we're happy to talk with you further, more in depth after the webinar.
Right.
Marek, I think we're ready to go, so we can jump in, look at building the foundations for a robust testing framework from scratch. So really the beginning here, proven OneVersion testing methodology for planning, of course, implementing and executing your testing projects. So. Whenever we talk about building the foundations, Marek, the first thing and the most important thing, and I think everyone knows this, is planning and scoping for your test case, for your test project. When it comes to building out a robust plan, there's really several things that you need to do, right? And I'll let you talk some about this, but I think a lot of this people will already know. First of all, you need to decide what it is that you're going to test, right? You identify the critical processes.
Exactly. Yeah, if I can step in now, So basically, in the planning here, we need to figure out what we're going to test. So dependable from our organization, we need to focus on the areas which we processing mostly, right? And about the things which if they break, they will cost.
They're the big money, right? Yeah. So that's something that we help customers identify. A lot of times they already know it, but work with them to say, hey, this is your money-making process. If this breaks, you are in big trouble. So that's one of the critical processes I want to identify. Another one, though, is like different areas of the system that have frequent deployments,
Right, So these can be actually internal deployments, updates. Don't need to be pretty much official, like OneVersion and things like this. Sorry. Also, yeah, it depends. Like if our organization will implement some own stuff, yeah, in the Dynamics or some
Right.
extension and things like this. So we should definitely focus on those things as well.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned Microsoft OneVersion there. Kind of leads us to the next point is not only what you need to test these critical processes, but then when to test them. Your testing cadence, yeah?
Yeah.
And so, for example, Microsoft OneVersion testing, there's the two big mandatory updates per year in April and October, so you definitely want to be testing that. But like you said, the internal deployments, when you're adding something, integrations come in and out, right? You want to be testing all the time.
Yeah. So yeah. Regarding like OneVersion, so we should be pretty much prepared on at least 2 or 3 times per year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually it is on.
And that's like a big full regression test
Yeah.
package. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when we testing our internal things or
Customizations.
yeah, customizations.
Yeah.
Yeah, when then maybe we should definitely we should focus on the areas actually which changed, and maybe the areas which are which that change areas are touching, yeah, as well. Yeah,
The highly connected ones. Yeah.
Like very close modules and pretty much functionalities like this.
Yeah. Another besides the internal deployments too is I think database refreshes. It's good to test after a database refresh.
Obviously, yes, we need to test that as well, because when we have actually larger, the bigger pack of the scripts, we need to make sure that our test data is still valid. Yeah.
And you need to schedule for that. That's the idea behind the setting your testing cadence is choose what to test and then when to test it. And there's all these different ways or times that you need to be testing. So, exactly. There's also the main regression test, which of course you're going to run after a major Microsoft update. But then there's other types like sanity testing, smoke testing. Maybe touch a little bit on that.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, we have smoke tests, which are basically shallow tests, which are testing our basic functionalities. Yeah.
How often do you want to run these? I mean, pretty frequently. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they should be run quite often.
Yeah.
Very often.
Yeah.
Even like more often, obviously, than whole regression pack. Yeah. Obviously, yeah. But those tests are focusing on just on like very very basic stuff and shallow functionalities. But later on, we have sanity testing, which is pretty similar to the smoke test, but it's focusing more on these vulnerable functions, yeah, like not basic and overall, but just that which we're supposed to be focused on, yeah. And of course, after that, we have regression testing, but we mentioned that actually already many times.
Yeah. So kind of sanity testing falls in between smoke testing and regression testing. So probably do smoke testing most frequently, sanity testing secondary, and then regression testing. That's your full package that you're running less often than the other two, but it's where you're really getting the bulk of your testing from. Great. So you have to start with picking out what it is you want to test, those critical processes. Then there's when to test it. The next important thing, of course, is who needs to be involved with this. And I know we work with customers a lot on this. So maybe take us through that some is right at the beginning. Who has to be involved with
who should be involved in a successful testing team, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so first of all, yeah, we should have somebody who can lead a whole project.
Yeah.
So that should be a test manager or some lead, some release manager. Right, yeah, that's the right person.
Yeah.
Also, it would be nice to have. Actually, it's mandatory to have QA engineer, right?
Yeah.
To the person who knows basically how to utilize the testing tools.
Yeah.
Prepare reports, yeah, and implements many validations and many solutions in the testing. So,
yeah.
But
and also like
but with that, very important person is SME. Yes, the person which is basically the process owner. Yeah, he knows everything about the process. In this case, in Dynamics.
Yeah.
And actually, there is a very close cooperation between those three people. Yeah. So the SME is very in close contact with.
Your tester.
The QA engineer, because the QA engineer frequently asking for some some nuances or some just some process knowledge, or about what things he needs to focus on while designing the automated scripts or even doing
Manual
testing,
tests. Yeah. So the subject matter expert or consultant, business process owner, they are there to share the knowledge of what the process looks like, and they're a critical part of the team. You have to have a business user, somebody who understands what's trying to be done, as well as this manager needs to be able to keep the test manager or release manager keep the communication channels open as well, so that way everybody has free time.
But this is the person who is dedicated to ensure that the project is going to succeed.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so that's who needs to be involved. Tools and applications. You mentioned this just a second ago. The QA engineer is somebody who needs to know the tools, yeah? And so what are some of the tools that we recommend and use on a daily basis with the customers, the projects that we do, yeah?
Right. So in these terms, like when we're talking about Dynamics, we're talking about the executive automates tools, which is basically...
That's our tool.
Yeah, but which is basically very good for testing Dynamics, but not only, because the newest version allows us to test even some extensions, third parties, applications, and things like this.
Integrations with the outside of Dynamics. Yeah. Obviously, that's the test automation tool, because there's too much testing that needs to be done. You can't do it all manually. I think everybody in the world understands this now, so everybody's looking for some sort of automation when it comes to testing. I know there's also really critical is DevOps.
But this is basically where we should start with. It can be DevOps or Jira, but in this case, we're gonna say DevOps. This is where it starts. Basically, where we having our requirements and designing the first scenarios, right?
Yeah, and so a lot of customers will have in DevOps their test plans, and it will actually have specific processes and test cases with the steps listed out. The more thorough you can be in this situation, the better, because as you move into your test automation tool and your test plan, you need to have the processes and the tests described someplace, and DevOps is a really good place to house all of that. Yeah,
right. And the good thing is that the executive automates can be integrated with DevOps. So we are able to see the results of our executions in there. Based on that, we can create like tasks or bugs when it's execution, when it's
work items from
unsuccessful.
Yep. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, I think, so we can hold off. But of course, there's other things when it comes to automation and testing in general, other applications. I know that we use Selenium, Playwright, Postman, and API all the time.
Basically when we face some third-party applitions, which is when it needs some more sophisticated approach, or maybe our tests regarding the third party and Dynamics will be more complex, then probably we can use Selenium, or we can even use API, even include API in EA, executive automation.
And I think we'll touch a little bit more on that too. Of course, all of this, everything we go through here, it builds on itself. So, this is the foundation we're going to build up as we go along. A lot of these things we'll mention a little more in depth later. So these are tools. What leads naturally after the tools is infrastructure. So, for example, depending upon what kind of testing and how much testing you're going to do, you need to choose the appropriate Dynamics tier. So I know a lot of our customers, they're doing a lot of testing, so we recommend at least like a tier 3 Microsoft Dynamics environment. For performance testing, you're going to want to look at a tier 4 if you're wanting to do a whole lot of performance, put a whole load on the system. Really should try to mimic your product and production environment. So tier 5 is probably appropriate in some of those situations. What else? I mean, infrastructure.
We should have a proper hardware. To handle. Also, so we should have proper CPU, RAM, memory, and things like this. Obviously, when we have, but this is more like Dynamics things. With our organization, it's pretty much worldwide, and we have like many entities that we should have like multiple environments. Like UAT, dev environment or production environments as well.
Yeah.
test production.
Yeah, that ties in something we'll talk about next, which is the project tree. Yeah, a project tree. Maybe describe and explain what this is, Marek. The way I see it is, it's how you organize your testing plan, and often you want it to mirror what you have in DevOps. Actually, that's recommended, is to mirror what you have in DevOps, your project tree. I think you've got an example, Marek. Maybe you can show
I've got
your
pretty
screen.
much simple example, and I could share it with you. Basically, so we have our executive automation environment.
I'm not sure if your screen is sharing yet. I can't tell up there.
I think, yeah.
Is Marek's screen sharing? I think so. Yeah. Perfect. There we go.
So basically, we have. It's just an example of the very simple project tree. But what I'm going to talk about how what approach we can use to create such a structure, because the structure on the very beginning, it's very important,
and it depends on the company itself, of course,
as
their
well,
requirements.
Yeah. It can the idea of that, it can come from the company, the approach for it. But if we don't have idea, we can use a few methods, and which is pretty much DevOps based. For example, this is when we're gonna mirror our DevOps. When we have DevOps in the beginning, we have the work items and everything. We can keep the work item number, for example, in the name of the project, sub-project, or even scripts as well. Yeah, to make it more transparent, or basically, it can looks very similar to the DevOps structure what we have in EA, which is very helpful because, like I said, we can integrate with DevOps, so we could just it can just look very nice. Yeah. So the person which is not working in EA like frequently can have some idea what's going on in EA because it was working previously in the DevOps. But coming back to the idea, we have basically we can have approach model based, which we have here, so we can divide our processes by the modules, which can be accounts receivable, payable. This is just a simple example, we can come to the work stream base, also, which is we can handle. It can be similar like in DevOps, or we can just have everything in one place, So basically, we can have. Let me show you. Maybe. In here. We can have not only link stick, but many other the smaller scripts which are chunks of the biggest script. We can also, like we mentioned previously, if we have many environments, we can divide it on environments, like, for example, UAT, FAT.
Our legal entities, it can be divided that way.
We can also divide it by the rollouts. Rollouts, I mean entities.
Yeah.
So which is quite useful as well. We can combine all these things basically. So this might be very helpful.
Another tip that we give to almost all of our customers is to identify and then also create a little sub-project for what I like to call golden scripts or golden processes that can be used across different entities or across different processes. Basically, it's a place where you keep reusable scripts.
This is coming pretty much from approach of optimization of script as well. We can have the script which can be used on many environments. Because it's quite versatile. So we can just...
And even in other test cases, you can use like a script as a part of another, like a prerequisite or something, which we'll talk about a lot more. That's another big topic, but we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. Project tree is really nice, and it's the good start. It's a good foundation. But once you've got that in place, really we start moving into test case creation, of course, execution and reporting. You want to actually have some tests that you're going to be able to run right at the very beginning of your journey. So we advise, start a little smaller and build out, of course. Depending upon where your test plan, where you're sitting at currently. But this leads into DevOps having the process steps and a description already laid out. But then you can start using your test automation tool. We use Executive Automats again to start doing the test creation. But before that, there's some setup that's involved that customers often forget about. Users and environment settings. Maybe take us through a little bit of some of the things that are needed there, like users need to have certain permissions to
Right,
do
yeah,
things. Yeah.
And obviously, yeah, when we're using virtual users in executive automats, but obviously it's in Dynamics itself. Yeah, if you want to do such a processes, and in this case, we want to automate such a process, the user needs to have appropriate permissions, yeah, to do that. Yeah. Well, in this case, I'm gonna now a bit. Tell maybe about role-based model slightly.
Yeah, I think we can talk a little bit about that later, but I think workflows fits in quite well here. You're needing multiple users as well, not just write permissions, but multiple users.
I meant that. So for example, we can use the multiple users and give them such a permissions and relations between them, and use them in the scripts just to perform actually. That simple example. Even
submit requests,
submit
approve.
requests. I mean, the requester and the approver, things like this, just to approve for example, purchase order or invoice, yeah. Well, depends from the workflow, obviously, but we can simulate that.
Yeah, and this has to be in place before you can actually do any automation. You have to have the appropriate users and the right number of them and the right relations between them. And so we help customers setting that up. I think here's something that you can show as well, a little bit about your test data. So, for example, you need items, item numbers, or customer account numbers, vendor numbers, things like this. So we touched on it briefly earlier about prerequisite scripts, prerequisite automated test cases. Yeah,
I can show that. Yeah, let me actually show that. Yeah, so basically, as a one of the topic of the test data is that we can use some script, to create
automated test case. Yeah,
automated test case just to create, for example, sales order, purchase order, or something. Yeah, and we have example here. Yeah, where we have that just small piece of the whole end-to-end script, which is creating the sales order, and that sales order number is used in the further process. So
like the next script.
In the next.
So this is basically a script of smaller scripts that forms kind of an end-to-end scenario. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
And the prerequisite script is capturing a variable and moving it on then to the next test script. Linked in there, some of those test cases are part of your golden process or golden script sub-project that you've got.
Yeah, exactly.
Very nice. Of course, not only prerequisite scripts, but data packages are quite useful to inject the data that's needed into a certain script.
After some consultation with the client, that we can help to actually sort such a thing out. Yeah,
all kinds of ways to get the data in there, Excel files, number sequences, to make sure that your automation is repeatable. You don't have, if you need unique data each time to run a specific process.
And especially that's going to be useful just before some regression.
Yeah. Get the data in there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. So, these are some of the foundations of starting your testing journey, what you need to have set up, the things you need to plan for, get everything in place. And of course, we've touched a little bit on, you're finally starting to do some testing of your most critical processes. The next natural step then is scaling and enhancing your test coverage and your test quality. Pop down to the next slide here. Here's a situation where we want to focus on continuity, consistency, intercompany testing, so testing different legal entities, and of course addressing bottlenecks, so optimizing. You've got the basics now, so start expanding, start optimizing, making things move a little quicker. Real life story here. We had a customer who started off, they had 50 manual test cases. Yeah, that was 100% of their testing at the time. And so by scaling it up, they kept building on those, and we were able to turn that into over 500 test cases that were automated for them. And this, of course, involved prerequisites, making sure everything was set up and ready to go. And so in reality, expanding your tests coverage, once you get started, you have to keep going, right? one way we do that, and you can talk and even show a little bit about this, but adding different variations, yeah?
Well, that will improve definitely. Yeah, we can validate many things. I can even give some example. Yeah, how we can actually. So we had the story basically that the functionality actually which was critical breakdown. Yeah, because that the script. Was not checking basically the amount of the tax, yeah, and it was wrongly quite calculated, yeah. But due to validation, we were able to calculate that.
Capture, make sure that it was caught when it was wrong, yeah?
Yeah, calculate that together with the dynamics and check if the dynamics is calculating that properly. Yes, so actually, we saved some scenario, yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, I can show small example. Maybe of the, but let me find it.
Yeah, so adding these different variations, things like validations, conditionals, even putting guards on. So if this happens, then do that. And if it doesn't happen, then do something else. So that's a type of variation. I think you've got maybe, what is it, the negative testing as well, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
So you can
I have an example actually here. Well, this is like pretty much validation, but it can be used also in the negative testing, yeah? So basically, we expecting here that the our desired purchase order to have currency euro, and we set up validation to fetch that if the purchase order got currency in euro, but however our captured PO was had a currency in USD, and the validation showed up that it's not correct and the script failed. Yeah.
Okay, but if you wanted the script to fail and you wanted to maybe catch the error message and make sure it's the correct error message that shows up,
we can do
you
that.
can do the negative testing and make this pass.
We can set up negative testing even just to search an error and show an error, and we can switch the outcome of it to success. So our goal is just actually to find that error, to force system to throw that error to us.
Yeah. And this is, one of the first ways that you can think about when you're trying to scale your testing is start adding the different variations of tests. Again, it can also include like workflows, integration tests can start being added in.
Yeah.
Different process variants, even like same process, but one is for domestic, one is for international. So all kinds of things that you can do to expand on your current test case just by adding different variations in there. Continuous improvement of test cases is another big topic. Not just test cases, but also test structure, right? So if you have a test case already, there's possibly ways that you can make that test case execute faster by maybe removing some steps or setting up some logic or something.
Yes, right, yeah. So we can check, for example, if there are some steps are redundant, they are not needed. Yes, so that can shorten. But this is when it comes to single test case, yeah. Or we can set up some logic, for example, with workflows, yeah, just to not set up regular delay, for example, 60 seconds, but we can set up just a check step, which will be checking that if the status is changed or if the button is available. If it's not, for example, the tool will go a few steps back. We'll wait, for example, a couple of seconds, and we'll try again. Yeah.
So that way you don't have to restart the script over and over again.
When it comes for this is examples of the single test case. We can also reduce the times of execution of the whole regression packages, especially by using of some scheduler functionalities, to stack them together, to check if which scripts can run in parallel sessions, which not will be colliding between each other.
Yeah, so that way you don't have to run test cases 1 and wait for it to finish, then go to test case 2, wait for it to finish. You can decide which ones to run together.
But it needs to also be quite selective,
Yeah, make sure they don't interfere with each other. Yeah, good point. Another thing that we commonly talk with customers about is retesting. Obviously, we're testing, so we want to find if there's any errors or anything like this. When we find them, we'll talk more about it later, but that should be sent over to somebody to fix it. Once it's fixed, got to come back and retest it.
Yeah. Right.
So continuous improvement retesting is involved with that. You already mentioned scheduler and parallel executions, but improving the efficiency of of your test executions. So integrating your prerequisite scripts into your other types of test cases, your sanity and smoke test cases, for example, and your regression plans. But not just these prerequisite scripts for data creation, but also to make sure the environment settings are correct, yeah?
Yeah, that's the good point, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so we can, for example, set up the script which will be running before our script, which needs some specific settings. Yeah. So that first script will actually have the steps to check those settings. Yeah. To set up this, and we can set up another script after that script, which is working on that settings, just to bring back the default settings.
Return to default so it can start over again next time. Yep. Yeah, that's critical, especially with end-to-end test cases. And so end-to-end test cases and linking of test cases, passing variables between each other. Yeah.
Because obviously we sometimes want to test some processes which are, that's quite specific. Yeah.
Yeah, and you showed that earlier actually was with the linked test case. I think you can pop it back up on the screen if you'd like, if it's not already there. And just you can see that the test cases are linked together, and so creating end-to-end test cases that are linked, passing variables efficiently. This all falls into improving and scaling out your test cases, your test plan. Another part we touched briefly on it as well was not just doing only regression testing. You have to continuously test all the time. So you have your smoke tests, your sanity tests. You need to have the full plan for that, not just your regression test cadence, but also your continuous testing, all the time testing. Yeah, I think we will definitely touch on this. We've touched on it a little bit, but expanding beyond D365. So what's one of the most common things that we hear with our customers, I would have to say, is testing integrations. How can we test this, let's say, Xflow or something like this?
Like we mentioned previously, with many of the extensions or third-party, EA can executive automats can handle it. Yeah. If not exactly, we can basically customize some steps or adding some advanced code functionalities. Yeah, for example, with JavaScript. Yeah. But also we can expand it. Yeah. Like if it's more sophisticated or it's just third party, which is third party app, which is
that we've never heard of before.
Yeah, which is very hard to integrate with executive automats. Yeah, we can use Selenium together with executive automats, or we can even inject a Postman call in the step. Postman call. API.
Yeah, API call.
Some request in the step in the executive automats, and it can just work. Yeah.
All right, let me get to the correct slide here. This is critical. So we talked about integrations, testing ISVs or customizations, things like that. But really critical for customers to consider is having a maintenance strategy in place. Yeah. Why would they need a maintenance strategy if it's an automated test? Why do they have to continue adjusting test cases? Like, why does this ever happen? Yeah. Things change, right? Like in the system, things are going to change.
Well, yeah. If we're talking, So, for example, tell me again.
Yeah, that's right. If like the process changes, so why would we need maintenance? A maintenance strategy for our test cases? The processes might change after a Microsoft update, or you have an integration coming in and out. Yeah. So really, whenever you creating test cases, you need to also plan to have time to adjust those test cases as things change over time. Yeah. So I think that's really where the goal is. If a new legal entity or there's a rollout, something like this, you need to change your test cases. So
obviously, yes, you need to all the time. You need to adjust it. Yeah. Like we said previously, adding validations and things like this. This is also helpful. Optimizing the scripts. Yeah. And basically, pretty much that's it.
I think that's a lot of what customers underplan for is things when they change, you have to go back in and change your test cases, test data. Everything needs to be in shape and ready for that next test run to go. So, that's really, you're building out, and once you get to a nice, pretty stable platform, then we're moving into a situation where you need to start optimizing not just your test cases, test plan, but your overall procedures as well. So the next section, as you can see here, is taking it to the next level, optimizing the testing operations and adding in like more integrations coverage, performance testing, process and testing, documentation for all kinds of things, company knowledge share,
You mean
regulatory compliance.
In the later phase of the project. Well, so this is the time to think when we have pretty much like big scope of the script, why not we should optimize them, do maybe versatile scripts, like use them, or like even we should maybe sometimes limit the numbers of the scripts and just use that one which will be versatile in other scenarios.
So you're really starting to optimize and take assessing where you're at and trying to find continuous improvements on it, which is a big theme. One of the key things when you're optimizing this is now that you've got things up and running and nice and steady, of course you want to keep building out, but you also, like you said, want to minimize test plan execution time. So when whatever type of test we're doing, we want to have that done as quickly as possible with as highest quality as possible. And so that's the overall goal for this, one of the overall goals for when you get to this stage of your testing journey. One way to do that are through testing audits and workshops. I know you do a lot of those with customers.
Right. So if the client requires such a thing, let's say the client is at some stage in the project,
they're like a year in.
And can ask us, hey, just look on our job, if we doing according to good practice, things like this, then we can on such a request we can respond that yes, we can do that. We can optimize the scripts, we can optimize the executions, we can point out some bad habits and implement good practices.
And that's one section, is actually looking at the actual test cases, test plan. But then there's, take a step back and look at a little bigger picture, release management procedures. I know we do audits for customers on that. How does your overall release management strategy look? And there's a lot of improvements that can be made there. Of course, there's scheduler setup and refinement. This is one thing that I know that you do a lot of, is using our Gantt scheduler feature.
Because it helps a lot to optimize the execution times.
And it's really specific. You can get very specific with it and have even dependencies. So if one script needs to finish before next test case can start, you can link them together.
If you got enough knowledge, between the processes, you can set up such a things. It helps a lot. Same can improve also authentication of the users processes. That if we have like plenty of them in, for example, or when we have performance testing ongoing soon, so then we're gonna have plenty of them, and we can do some custom authorization scripts which are gonna work quicker and just better.
You mentioned performance testing there. We can actually dive a little bit into that, because we run a lot of projects for customers where we do the entire performance testing for them. Of course, performance testing is different than regression testing.
Obviously.
You have to define different goals for it. You can use a lot of your current test cases that you've got for your regression or smoke testing, sanity testing, but really you have to identify a different type of test case to use for performance testing. What's your goal? How much do you want to load the system? Do you want to measure it over a period of time? So define your goals. What processes?
Exactly. So pretty much the answer is what processes will be the same with on the beginning. That will be the most frequently performed processes.
If it's Black Friday, you're going to have a whole lot of X process, right?
For example. But we need to think how we're gonna actually proceed with that performance test. So good practice is just like we need to define how many sessions we want. It's obviously dependable from our organizations. Let's say we have 250 users usually in a peak.
Yeah.
So let's double it.
Okay.
Let's double it, but not just double it straight away, but we can start
Iterations, yeah.
We can start like pretty much in the waves. Yeah. Start with 100 users, first iteration, another one, 200, increase like 100 each.
Yeah, and then compare between each one how the system was
Yes,
responding.
yes.
Of course, using tools, have monitoring tools for it. LCS, maybe it's being deprecated now, but Azure Monitor, we have a performance monitoring tool that we like to use as well. So performance testing, you know, data preparation is another big thing. This is always every type of testing, but
Make sure that needs to be all the time valid. Well, like we said, that the processes should be, like we said in the beginning, the most frequent ones, or key processes basically. But we need to make sure that those scripts are not too complex as well.
Yeah, you definitely want to stick to more simple types of test cases for performance testing, because
also prepare all these virtual users. I mentioned previously. So we need to like some bigger amount of users. Just to simulate such a peak.
And they have to have, of course, the correct permissions and so forth. So I think, you know, this is a really good way, and we see customers in this stage of their testing journey, they're already very stable, can start looking into performance testing. Of course, all of these build on each other, and you know, we have customers who've started off before go live running performance tests, so they don't even really have a testing strategy set up yet. They're starting off with a performance test. So we do a lot of that with customers as well. I like this next one that you mentioned when we were talking the other day, security testing. Yeah.
Okay.
This is near to me because I do a whole lot of this stuff, helping customers with it, like role-based testing. Yeah. So you have one process that should be done. Let's say this is part of an accountant's role. They should be doing this process. But that accountant role shouldn't be doing sales orders or something like this, creating customers, right?
That's the thing, that executive automates allows us to do that. If we have like obviously enough like proper amount of users, and those users need to have certain permissions. So we are able to do it. And as example, simple even purchase order or invoice. Somebody need to submit, somebody need to approve it, or even
and you can test that against different roles to see can this role perform this one that they should not be able to.
This can be used also in intercompany testing. Because
exactly.
In other entity can be different user as well. Responsible for other things. So it can be used also there.
So this is a way to expand even further your testing project. So I think there's a couple of other points too. Process documentation is another part of your way to expand your what you've done to create a testing plan.
Well, that can be helpful not only to see the execution of our tests, right? This can help a lot of education of the new member, for example, of QA team,
onboarding.
Like this, because all the steps are recorded and visible on the screenshots with the descriptions.
Even video,
yes.
Like task recordings or the video.
Executive Automates now allows to generate video from execution.
So a new employee can see what a process is supposed to look like.
Right. Exactly. And just to mention that again, if we have that integrated with the DevOps, and after execution, we choose the option to produce such a documentation from execution. So
your developer can see what's happening and fix the bug.
Nice. In the execution result, it will be visible, and can check that. Even if it's if it's not passed, or it passed but something was wrong, there was some warnings, things like as well. In DevOps, in that execution results, user is able to create work item or a bug from it, directly.
We'll talk about that when we talk about improved reporting a little bit more here in just a couple seconds, actually. One thing too about the process documentation is, employees come in and leave companies, and oftentimes we'll have customers who they have a knowledge silo, is kind of what I call it. It's where one person has the expertise on a particular process or set of processes, and they're the only one who knows it. And if you have process documentation, it's easier to share that knowledge with others if that person, God forbid, gets sick and can't come into work, to show people what that process looks like, or they leave the company, which happens. You can pass that knowledge on internally inside the company. So that's another good part.
That's helpful. So like I said, it's not only for the documentation produced from execution. It's not only for just checking results. If it's just if it's success and it's designed well, it can help even to educate.
Yeah, and so again, expanding on that test plan, other benefits that you can get from it. You mentioned briefly too test documentation. So it's not just process documentation, but you can have the exact same thing, a PDF or a video of an actual test case, and this can be used for internal reporting. It can be used if you are in a heavy regulated industry and have a regulator come in and say, prove that you've done this kind of testing, like pharmaceutical industry or something. So that's another good point to having test documentation. You touched on this. I really want to get into this. I think you can even show it, Marek.
Let me find
improvement of
please,
reporting, and that's both to the development team and then also to management is something I think you can show with DevOps specifically. Internal reporting.
Yeah, so basically, if we have in the history some execution, hold on, it's not this one. I think that's the one. Yeah, we have the actually the scripts which was checking the currency, and it throw an error. Yeah, but basically the documentation should be in here, but we can generate a report in here.
Okay, yeah.
It's easy to download with just one click. However, if we choose the execution to be with documentation and it's integrated with the DevOps, like I mentioned, it will be there. Yeah. So if we see now, I'm showing the layout of that
this
integrated
is DevOps
field.
now,
We have this one, and we have failed. If we get inside, and we see. That will be this one, we can see in attachment there is documentation, as well. So
got that in there, and you can even create a work item if there's a bug.
Like I mentioned previously, you can link this or to existing bug or create new one. Well, also, Executive Automates allows you to set up the rules with that. So basically, if the error will encounter, it will, and it is integrated with the Executive Automates. It's integrated with the DevOps. That's with that script. That will automatically create a bug in the DevOps
and send the documentation along with it, and they can get started fixing it.
Right.
And then of course you have to retest after the fix. Don't forget that, people.
Yes. But make sure when you're running that basically the script is well done. Just to not make a mess of it.
Exactly.
It's quite easy to do.
So DevOps, we think it's to organize everything, and for internal reporting, creating bugs, making sure everybody's on the same page and sees all the same information. But oftentimes we like to remind customers that it's not just about doing the testing and fixing the problems. That's a great thing. But test managers, especially release managers, they have to report this stuff to their management. And so it's really nice to have a digestible way for them to see that. And so we also work with customers and do Power BI reports. So that way management can see it and make sense of it. They don't have to dive in so far as, they might not even recognize what they're seeing in DevOps. But Power BI, for sure, that allows them to follow along with the project. I think that's a kind of a good spot to end on the journey is with the final reporting to the management. We've built our foundation, we've scaled it out, we've identified areas for optimization to make it even better than it was, and brought it full circle by saying, hey, management, look at how good our test project is. Or bad. Hopefully it's good, though. So, I think that, is there anything else that you'd want to add? I think that we touched on a lot of stuff, and we've only got, I think, about 10 minutes left, so save some time for Q&A.
It's time for that, Do we have any questions already?
I have to check and see if we've got some. Feel free to put them in the chat, folks. Of course, we're happy to talk with you more in depth on any of these topics. We weren't able to go in this amount of time too in depth on everything, but hopefully we gave you a good idea as to where to start, how to expand, and then how to optimize it once you've done that. So yeah, we'll have a few minutes for Q&A. And also, I mentioned earlier that I'm going to be in San Antonio for the summit starting next week. Yeah. That's the AXUG Dynamics 365 Community Summit. Community Dynamics puts it on every year. This one, it's always a really nice event. There's always thousands of people jealous. There. Yeah. Yeah. You can actually see here, I've got it listed, and it'll be in the presentation that we send to you. We've got a booth there. We're a premier sponsor this year, so one of the bigger booths will have, I think, 12 people are going, and we'll be in booth 225. Also, you can, if you're there, join us. There's a thing called the Riverwalk Boat Tour, so we've actually got a boat that we'll be able to hop on with people who want to take a ride with us and go up in San Antonio, the river running right through the middle of it. It's the downtown area. It's kind of the happening place to be.
So you're going to bring me some souvenirs from there?
Yeah, I'll try to. If we visit the Alamo, I'll try to bring you back some swag. Yeah?
Okay, sounds right.
You can also find more information about us too at executiveautomats.com. This, again, it's here in the presentation, so you'll be able to see that once you get it as well. Marek, do we have any questions? Anything that you can see yet? I need to
Not really
this down
at the moment.
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah. Integration with Jira. As far as with our testing tool, no, actually, we're not planning to integrate with Jira. We'd use.
Well, we mostly focus on DevOps.
Yeah. Good
at
question.
least I didn't get such information yet. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I know that our support team for the tool, people you can ask questions to, they use Jira. But they're not using that in connection with the tool. Good question. Oh, is that Mariusz saying hi? Hey, buddy. Thank you. What are some common questions? Let's see if we can brainstorm and fill in some time here. The integrations with DevOps, that's generally a question, or with Jira. We get asked a lot just about, integrations in general, so testing outside of Dynamics. And how to handle that. A lot of times you do have to do it manually.
Yeah, but it depends from context. Like I said,
if it's web-based, generally, you can automate it.
In many cases, executive automats can handle it. Yeah, sometimes with small help of coding, like I said. Yeah, it basically when it's really like more like complex. Yeah, then we doing that with other tools. Yeah. But however, actually, that was very good cases with the API. I was actually very surprised how it worked.
Yeah. I see another question is, can we help with test plan development? It's one of the main things we do. We've got test managers, of course, test engineers, test consultants, all the way. We can do everything for you, or just provide some manpower if you need some extra manpower before one of Microsoft's OneVersion updates, something like this. Really, the full gamut of all the testing needs.
Okay.
It's hard for me to see on this screen sometimes, these questions as they pop up. Boy, my mouth got dry. I was talking too much, I think.
Yeah, mine as well. What's the interesting? What's the interesting also in the DevOps integration that we can basically use, how it's called? Let me double check it.
Oh. Actually, I see Alina here. EA can EA only be used with a web solution? Yeah, that's correct. It's so. I think a lot of the automation tools, most of them actually, are
they are
focusing
some
on
which are designed for desktop apps, but yeah, this is designed for web applications.
Yeah, but as a testing services, we do whatever needs to be done to get the job done. So it's not only EA that we use, of course. Yeah. Any project type that you would not recommend to use our solution, our EA tool? Any project type? Well, anything that's not web-based, of course. And probably some more of the minor or maybe less well-known integrations. So, for example, I heard for the first time yesterday, I've heard the name before, but I saw it for the first time yesterday. It's called Rapid Response. I'm not very familiar with it, but I know that we haven't really seen that as a team, and so the tool wouldn't capture certain things on the screen for it. So,
it can be sometimes solved, like I said, depends from the context. We can use our test architect, can look into what's happening in the background in that third-party application, and can customize the steps.
Yeah, and if it ends up
can find different things.
If that doesn't work, then there's Selenium or Playwright. We can step outside of the tool as well.
Many times, it just needs some programmist help a bit just to find that elements on the page, inject them in the step in EA, and they can work. They can work solid.
So I think that would be to answer your question. The two areas would be if it's not web-based solution or not web-based application that's being tested, of course that won't work. But then also, again, if it's a unique integration. The larger, more common integrations, I mentioned Xflow earlier, EA handles a lot of it. There's definitely things that it does not handle in each integration, but it's, as Marek said, it's something that you can oftentimes solve by injecting some code to it or stepping out and using Selenium or something like that.
Right.
Thanks for these questions, by the way. All right, Marek. We've got 4 minutes left here, so we'll hang on for sure. If you have the questions, let us know. I want to thank everybody for coming in. I asked earlier, where's everybody from? So if you didn't hear me ask that, drop it down. Let's see. Can I manage a process that starts at a point of sale and continues through D65 Finance? So CPOS. So not InPost, but CPOS with executive automats. So if you have the cloud point of sale, or that can be used to mimic your manual point of sale, then that can be done with executive automats. Yeah, we've done a lot of that with customers as well. Ooh, do we plan to make a German version available? Good question. So interacting with the tool, that would be either in English or Polish. Yeah. So the buttons on executive automats, we have English and Polish, not German. But you can use. We have a translation option on the tool. Yeah. He's asking if we could use EA a German
for
version.
now, there is no, I think, official support on different languages than Polish and English.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think we're based on the English. I even using English version. It's more common, especially when I'm cooperating with people in the project.
Yeah, we can think about it. We've got a lot of German customers, German-speaking customers, right, Austria, Switzerland, Germany, of course. Good question. Maybe in the future.
I think so. If there is such a request, why not?
Yeah. I'm not the one doing the development work, so yeah. Why not, yeah?
They will manage.
Yeah. All right, so I think that's good. Any more questions that you guys have? Again, we'll be sending this to the emails that you registered with, so you'll get the recording and the presentation with, of course, our contact information. Plan to launch a desktop version in the future. I don't think we have too much of a plan for that in the near future. Definitely it was something worth exploring, but I know that our backlog for development and releasing the next versions is pretty full, so I think desktop is probably on the back burner for a while. Yeah. All right. Well, come see us in San Antonio if you guys are going, and keep an eye out on your emails for us sending this over to you with our contact information. You can also, again, see us visit our website, executiveautomats.com. And really appreciate you being with us tonight. So, Marek, same to you, man. It's always good.
Yeah. Thank you.
You weren't too nervous, right?
I was a bit, yeah, but I'm still jealous about San Antonio.
Alrighty. Well, thanks everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you. Bye.
We'll talk soon.